Welcome to the Rogers Public Library Puppet Show.
Hi everyone. Today we'd like to share with you a poem written by Clement Clark Moore, all the way back in 1823. Here is Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas, otherwise known as Twas the Night Before Christmas.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Hee! Our stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
We were nestled all snug in our beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in our heads.
And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash.
The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to our wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer.
With a little old driver so lively and quick, we knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name.
Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too.
Then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof, as I drew in my head and was turning around down the chimney. St. Nicholas came with a bound.
He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler opening his pack.
His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly.
He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread.
He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all our stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney, he rose.
He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But we heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." The Baker's Dozen, a St. Nicholas tale, retold by Aaron Shepard and Rebecca Wilhite. In the quiet town of Carleone, Sicily, there lived a baker, Michael, Santino, Alfredo, Vito, Salvatore, Johnny, Palermo, who was as honest as he could be. Each morning he checked and balanced his scales, and he took great care to give his customers exactly what they paid for, not more and not less.
Chef Michael Santino Chef Palermo's shop was always busy because people trusted him, and because he was a good baker as well. And never was the shop busier than in the days of December, when the holidays drew near. At that time of year, people flocked to the baker's shop to buy his fine St. Nicholas cookies.
Made of gingerbread, iced in red and white, they looked just like St. Nicholas. One morning, Chef Michael Alfredo Chef Palermo was just ready for business when the door of his shop flew open.
Chef Johnny, Salvatore, Mike, Chef Palermo, I need a dozen of your St. Nicholas cookies. 1 dozen, coming right up. Let's see. 10, 11, 12. Okay, I'll wrap these for you. I asked for a dozen. You have given me only 12. Signora, everyone knows that a dozen is 12. 12. But I say a dozen is 13. Give me one more. Now, I am not a man to bear foolishness, Signora. My customers get exactly what they pay for, not more and not less. Then you may keep the cookies, Chef Santino Alfredo Spaghetti. Chef Palermo. However honest you may be, your heart is small and your fist is tight. Fall again, mount again, learn how to count again.
From that day, everything went wrong, and Chef Michael Scalapino Santino,
I'm really hungry for pizza right now.
I know, right. Anyway, from that day, everything went wrong in Chef Palermo's bakery. His bread rose too high or not at all. His pies were either sour or too sweet. His cakes crumbled and were chewy. His cookies were burnt or doughy. His customers soon noticed the difference. Before long, most of them were going to other bakeries.
That old woman has bewitched me. Is this how my honesty is rewarded?
Since he sold little, he baked little, and his shelves were nearly bare. His last few customers slipped away. A year passed. Chef Michael Yada Palermo got poorer and poorer.
I can't believe it. It's the day before St. Nicholas Day, and not one customer has come to the shop. I wish St. Nicholas could help me now.
That night, Chef Palermo had a dream. He was a boy again, one in a crowd of happy children. And there in the midst of them was St. Nicholas himself on his white horse. St. Nicholas pulled out one gift after another, and he handed them to the children.
No matter how many presents Nicholas gave out, there were always more presents to give. Then Nicholas handed a gift to Michael, Santino, Alfredo, Vito, Salvatore, Johnny, Palermo. Yay!
It's about time somebody said my name right.
The gift St. Nicholas handed the dreaming chef was one of his own St. Nicholas cookies. Chef Palermo looked up to thank him, but it was no longer St. Nicholas standing there. Smiling down at him was the old woman with the long black shawl. When Chef Palermo woke up, he thought, I always give my customers exactly what they pay for, not more and not less. But why not give more?
The next morning, St. Nicholas Day, Chef Palermo woke up early. He mixed his gingerbread dough, rolled it out, he molded the shapes and baked them. He iced them in the red and white to look just like St. Nicholas, and the cookies were as fine as any he had made. Palermo had just finished when the door flew open. In walked the old woman with the long black shawl.
Chef, see, Chef Palermo, I have come for a dozen of your St. Nicholas cookies. Ah, see, in this shop from now on, 1 dozen is 13. 13. You have learned to count well. You will surely be rewarded.
As the old woman foretold, Palermo was rewarded. When people heard he counted 13 as a dozen, he had more customers than ever.
In fact, he grew so wealthy that the other bakers in town began doing the same. From the little town of Corleone, the practice spread throughout the country, and this, they say, is how 13 became the baker's dozen. The end. The Grinch Who Stole Christmas by Dr. Zeus, adapted to Reader's Theater by Sharon Drummond and Rebecca Wilhite. Hi everybody, my name is Mandy Mouse. Today we are telling the story of the Grinch. Do you guys know who the Grinch is? Well, just in case you don't know, or in case you really like that story because the Grinch, we're going to tell you the story right now, okay? All right. Oh, we know that the Grinch is in the story is mean, but we shouldn't be scared because it's just a story, okay? Okay, let's get started. Oh, one more thing. The Grinch's sleigh broke down on his way to the library, so his part will be played by our beloved green monster puppet today. This is How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Zeus, more or less.
Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot.
But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas.
Wait a minute. Why would anybody hate Christmas? Christmas is fun. My grandma comes to visit, my mom makes a bunch of chocolate-covered crickets, and we all sit around the table and share some roasted snails.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Oh, sorry, Chef. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's get back to the story.
The Grinch hated Christmas. The whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight.
Oh, I bet that was it. I have some shoes that are too small, but I really like them because they are purple with green glitter dots on them. And one time I wore them bowling and I scored my highest score ever in bowling, which was 47. And I was really happy about that. And...
Affleck!
Huh?
Oh, sorry, Mandy. It's just that you were talking really fast, and I got excited. And when I get excited, I have to say Affleck really loud.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get back to the story. Maybe the Grinch's shoes were too tight.
But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath.
And they're hanging their stockings.
He snarled with a sneer.
Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here.
Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming.
I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming.
For tomorrow he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd all rush for their toys, and then...
Oh, the noise! Oh, the noise, the noise, noise, noise.
That's one thing he hated.
The noise, 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 noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast.
They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least.
Come on, what is wrong with this guy? Everybody knows that roast beast is awesome, especially when you eat it with Swedish fish and boiled goat's feet.
Mandy,
Am I doing it again?
you're doing it again.
Sorry.
And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing.
The sing!
And they'd sing. And they'd sing, 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 sing.
Here we come a-wassailing among the leaves so green. Here we come a-wandering so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year.
And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought,
I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years, I put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how?
Then he got an idea, an awful idea.
The
Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea.
I know just what to do.
The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked.
What a great Grinchly trick with this coat and this hat. He looked just like Saint Nick. All he needed was a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch?
Oh my goodness, I can't take the suspense. Did it stop him? No.
The Grinch simply said,
If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead.
So he called his dog Max, and then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said,
Giddy up!
and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square,
This is stop number 1.
The old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row.
These stockings.
He grinned.
Are the first things to go.
then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present.
He pilfered Barbie dolls, linkable sloths, and Cubby the curious bear. He took the Easy Bake Oven, but left the empty box so the Who's would think there was something in there.
He snatched up Artie the coding robot, walking Buzz Lightyear, Mr. Potato Head and such. He even took the popcorn off the tree. Isn't that a little bit much?
Mom, if you're watching, I'd love an Easy Bake Oven for Christmas. Then I can make a grasshopper and lizard souffle with.
Mandy!
Just saying.
And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast.
He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even stole their last can of Who hash.
Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee.
And now,
Grinned the Grinch.
I will stuff up the tree.
And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove.
He turned around fast and he saw a small Who.
Little Kitty Lou who wasn't older than a week or two.
The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who girl who got out of bed for a cup of milk.
She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree. Why?
But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick.
Why, my sweet little cat?
The fake Santa Claus lied.
There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here.
And he fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a cup of milk, and he sent her to bed. And when Kitty Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up.
Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire, and the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse.
Then he did the same things to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for other Who mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled.
Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet. He rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it.
Pooh to the Who's.
He was Grinchishly humming.
They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise that I simply must hear.
So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow, but the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry.
Very merry.
He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without presents at all.
He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling.
How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags.
And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more.
And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast.
Oh boy, I'm so glad he brought the food back, because to have Christmas without warm noodles, caterpillar larvae, and sorry, I did it again.
Mandy, would you like to finish the story for us?
Me? Oh, I'm so flattered. You know, you try and you work hard and you sacrifice and you step on all the little people in your way, and sometimes you leave presents in your mom's shoes that she doesn't appreciate, and you think nobody cares, and just when you least expect it,
Mandy! Affleck!
Sorry, okay, the Grinch. Well, he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast.
The end.